In 1968, a British oceanographer named Nicholas Fleming was snorkeling off the coast of Greece, not looking for anything. He looked down, and he found a city, streets, doorways, courtyard walls, a complete urban grid in 10 feet of crystal clear water, so legible he could read the street plan from above the way you read a map. The city had been in plain view for 3,000 years while fishermen passed over it in boats. Nobody looked. That is not the anomaly. That is the pattern. 12,000 years ago, sea level stood 120 meters lower than it does today. Every river delta, every sheltered bay, every fertile coastal plain, every place civilization has ever chosen to build was above water. People lived there, they built there, then the ice melted and everything they built went under. We have been searching for the origins of human civilization on the wrong 30% of the planet. What follows is not theory. It is 10 locations, carbon dates, and peer-reviewed publications. 10 places where someone finally looked underwater and found something that doesn't fit the timeline we were taught. Before we start, drop a comment telling us where you are watching from and what time it is right now. We want to see how many countries this video reaches. Pavlopetri is the easiest site on this list to verify. You can snorkel it, look down through 10 feet of Mediterranean water and see the streets yourself. 30,000 square meters, a town square, a cemetery, a water management system with channels still running in straight lines toward where they were engineered to drain. Occupied from at least 2800 BCE through the Mycenaean era. A 2009 Nottingham survey found foundations predating the Bronze Age, potentially 3500 BCE, before writing. Before the palaces of Mycenae. Here is the detail that never makes the summary. The threshold stones, the flat slabs at the base of each doorway, are polished smooth on their upper surfaces, worn by thousands of people crossing them before the water came. That polish is still there, 3 meters underwater, you can touch it. Pavlopetri is not exceptional. It is the one case where the water was shallow enough that someone happened to look. The Mediterranean shelf extends for thousands of miles. Systematic survey has covered less than 1% of it, which means we have no idea what else is down there. We have no idea at all. The Mahabharata describes Dwarka in precise physical terms. Broad streets, towered gates, a harbor on the western sea. After the death of Krishna, the ocean rose and swallowed it. For 2,000 years, scholars classified this as mythology. In 1983, the Archaeological Survey of India sent divers off the Gujarat coast. At 30 to 40 feet depth, they found the city. Fortification walls still in alignment, triangular anchor stones with their drilled mooring holes intact, fitted stone blocks still flush after 3,000 years, pottery, seals with undeciphered script, carbon dating, occupation between 1500 and 3000 BCE. The Gujarat coast has subsided. What was at sea level when those walls were built is now 30 to 40 feet underwater. The Mahabharata described the location accurately. It described the submersion accurately. For 2,000 years, we called it myth. The myth was right. We were wrong. In December 2000, India's National Institute of Ocean Technology was running a routine pollution survey of the Gulf of Khambhat. Side-scan sonar, standard procedure, not archaeology. At 40 meters depth, the sonar returned a grid, streets in parallel lines, rectangular foundations in city blocks, a drainage channel running perfectly straight for more than a kilometer in the direction it was engineered to flow. The NIOT dredged the site, worked stone, pottery, carved geometric objects, and wood. That wood was carbon dated at the National Geophysical Research Institute, 9,500 years before present. The oldest accepted urban culture on the subcontinent, the Indus Valley Civilization, dates to roughly 5,500 years ago. The Khambhat site is 4,000 years older. Since 2001, no funded excavation has been completed. The city is still on the seafloor, 40 meters down, its drainage channels still pointing in the direction the water used to run, still doing their job for a city that stopped existing 9,000 years ago. If what you're hearing is changing something, subscribe now and don't close this tab. What comes next is the most perfectly preserved evidence on this list, and it should not exist. Below 150 meters, the Black Sea is anoxic. No oxygen, no bacteria that consume wood or organic material. Anything deposited below that line is preserved exactly as left, indefinitely. In 1999 to 2000, Robert Ballard, the man who located the Titanic, took an ROV to the Black Sea floor off Turkey, testing the Ryan-Pittman hypothesis, that the Black Sea was a freshwater lake before 7,500 years ago, flooded when the Mediterranean broke through the Bosphorus, an event that may have generated the flood myths found across Mesopotamia, the Levant, and the Caucasus. At 311 feet, in absolute darkness, in oxygen-free water, his ROV found a rectangular building, carved wooden beams, still three-dimensional, still showing the cut marks of the craftsmen who shaped them, 7,000 years in the dark. The sediment confirms the event, pale freshwater sediment below, dark saltwater sediment above, the boundary between them sharp as a ruler line, the geological record of a single day, 7,500 years ago. Ballard estimated hundreds of similar sites from Turkey to Ukraine, all in the anoxic zone, all perfectly preserved. One was found. The funding for the rest was not provided. They are still down there, in the dark, intact, waiting. In January 1987, dive instructor Kihachiro Aratake was looking for hammerhead sharks off Yonaguni, the westernmost island of Japan, closer to Taiwan than to Okinawa. He found no sharks. At 20 feet, he found a terrace, a flat stone platform, perfectly level, with a vertical face dropping 12 meters straight to the seafloor. He followed it, 250 meters long, 50 wide, 25 high, 8 stories. Flat terraces, right-angle corners, a road running parallel to the main face for its entire length, and what marine geologist Masaki Kimura identified as drainage channels cut into the sandstone. The geological argument, Ryukyuan sandstone fractures under tectonic stress. The counter-argument, the parallel road is a configuration natural erosion has never produced anywhere in the geological record. Kimura's drainage channels intersect at angles only design systems achieve. The structure sits at 5 to 30 meters, consistent with sea levels 8 to 12,000 years ago, when Yonaguni was still connected to mainland Asia. The argument has run for 40 years. Here is the one thing both sides agree on. If it is natural, it is unlike any natural formation ever documented anywhere on Earth. And if it is not natural, it was built 10,000 years ago when we were supposed to be living in caves. The North Sea does not look like a graveyard. 8,000 years ago, it was not there. In its place was Doggerland, a landmass the size of Germany. River valleys, marshes, forests, coastlines, one of the most productive environments in Mesolithic Europe. Around 6,200 BCE, the Storegga submarine landslide off Norway sent a tsunami across the low-lying plain. The people who reached higher ground watched their world go under. In 1931, a fishing trawler dredging the Lehman and Ower banks brought up, tangled in its net, a barbed antler harpoon, 10,000 years old, the barbs still sharp. Still angled backward at the precise angle a craftsman carved them to catch and hold, from a river that no longer exists, in a country now 40 meters underwater, has mapped all of Doggerland using seismic data from North Sea oil surveys, the river channels, the lake basins, the coastlines, the complete geography of a civilization's homeland. The oil companies searched every meter of that seafloor for oil, not for what else might be down there. At 11:43 on June 7, 1692, the ground beneath Port Royal began to shake. Port Royal was the richest city in the Caribbean, 6,000 people, described as the wickedest city in the known world. In 2 minutes, 2/3 of it slid into the harbor. The liquefied sand simply opened, buildings, streets, people, down into 20 feet of water. The city froze at 11:43. It is still frozen there. Cobblestone streets still in place, brick walls still standing, pewter plates on tavern shelves, a pocket watch, hands stopped at 1143, sealed wine bottles, ceramic floor tiles in their original patterns. Port Royal is the most perfectly preserved 17th century city on Earth, not a ruin, a city. The moment of June 7, 1692 at 11:43 a.m., still happening, 20 feet underwater, in a harbor you can reach by ferry from Kingston. 98% of it has never been excavated. The pocket watch with its hands at 11:43 has been sitting in the silt for 333 years. Nobody has picked it up. 20,000 years ago, you could walk from Tunisia to Sicily. The shelf between them was dry land. Malta was a mountain on a coastal plain. Every civilization that shaped the Western world built on the Mediterranean coast: Egypt, Greece, Phoenicia, Rome, and before each of them, predecessors, building where people always build, on the shore near the water. That shore is now 60 to 120 feet underwater. Marine archaeologists have been finding Bronze Age harbor structures on the continental shelf for 30 years. Stone blocks in the L shape of a harbor mole, positioned at what was the waterline 2,000 to 4,000 years ago, now 50 to 80 feet down. The Mediterranean shelf has been trawled commercially for a century. Every pass of a bottom trawl across an ancient structure scatters it. Sites are being destroyed before they are found. A 2018 paper in Quaternary International calculated that submerged prehistoric sites on the European shelf likely exceed all known terrestrial prehistoric sites in Europe combined. More human history under that water than in every museum on the continent above it. If this channel is worth your time, hit like. One tap. Stay with us. What's next is a city built from 750,000 tons of stone that no one can explain how it was moved. Pohnpei is a volcanic island in the middle of the Pacific. No immediate neighbors, open ocean in every direction. Off its eastern coast in a tidal lagoon, someone built a city from columnar basalt, hexagonal prism-shaped rock that forms in cooling lava flows, dense, heavy, intractable without serious engineering. The nearest basalt quarry is on the opposite side of the island. 750,000 metric tons were transported across the lagoon and placed on 92 artificial islands connected by canals, in walls rising 25 feet high and 17 feet thick, stacked without mortar, precise enough to survive 1,000 years of Pacific storms. Individual columns weigh up to 50 tons. No proposed transport method has been demonstrated at this scale. Engineering analyses since Nan Madol's UNESCO listing in 2016 have not produced a satisfying answer. The Pohnpeian oral tradition attributes the construction to two sorcerers who flew the stones through the air. UNESCO has Nan Madol on its danger list. The islands are subsiding. The city is going back under the water. In 2001, a Canadian exploration company ran a sonar survey off the western tip of Cuba, looking for Spanish colonial shipwrecks. At 650 to 700 meters depth, roughly 2,200 feet, the sonar returned a pattern that stopped the survey. A grid. Symmetrical rectangular structures across 20 square kilometers, platforms, pyramid-like forms, the organized geometry of a planned urban space. The company returned with an ROV. Stone blocks on the footage, surfaces smooth, edges clean, in configurations no geological process produces at that depth. Presented at the 2001 Geological Society of America conference, covered by every major science outlet. The follow-up funding was not secured, not investigated since. Here is the problem no coverage mentioned. Post-glacial sea level rise accounts for approximately 120 meters, not 650. The Cuba site is 5 times deeper than sea level change can explain. Either the sonar is wrong, possible, but the ROV footage exists, or this seafloor has subsided tectonically over a very long period. How long is not established. Whether anyone has returned in 23 years, that one is established. No one has. None of what you just heard requires a supernatural explanation. It requires one thing. The sea level was lower. People lived on those coastlines and built there. the way people have always built, on the most fertile, most accessible land available. The water came up, and we stopped looking in those directions. The conventional timeline of human civilization begins at 3500 BCE with Sumer, not because that is when complex culture began, but because that is the oldest evidence we have that wasn't put under the sea. The seafloor is not empty space. It is not geological noise. It is where the story was interrupted. Nicholas Fleming looked down through 10 feet of water in 1968 and found a city no one knew existed. It had been there for 3,000 years. It will be there for 3,000 more. The threshold stones are still there, polished smooth by every foot that crossed them, waiting in the dark, 3 meters underwater, in plain view. What do you think is down there that we haven't found yet? Drop it in the comments. We read everyone.